I just started to look at every single detail. From 2015, end of 2015 until the end of 2018, so over 3 years, I didn't touch any desserts for basically over 3 years.
Welcome to The Pass Track Talks, the ultimate traveling podcast for motorsport stories.
We are Nicole and Mattia, and together we wish to narrate the characters of the little big world that we're so passionate about.
We meet the drivers as well as the insiders directly at the racetracks, and throughout our unfiltered talks, behind-the-scenes anecdotes, pure emotions and fragments of intense life emerge, together with the universal values that characterize this discipline.
Because in some way, the pass is also about you. Enjoy.
Welcome to a new episode of The Pass Track Talks. I'm Mattia.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Lorenzo Travisanutto.
And today we're here at the Franciacorta Karting Track, and we're happy to have Lorenzo as our guest. I'm a co-host together with Nikki, and Lorenzo is a professional karting driver.
Our first driver guest.
Yeah.
About time, I would say.
Yeah, we're honored to have you, and let me say before we start.
Thank you.
Let me say before we start that it's a true pleasure for me, also because we actually raced together back in the good old days. I wasn't as successful as Lorenzo. In fact, this is the reason why I'm here to interview you. But yeah, jokes apart, well, it wasn't a joke,
But I'm glad to see you here. It means we've both made it in our way. It's great to see you.
Yeah,
passion remained throughout all these years.
Yeah, this is actually very emotional because obviously my dream was to be a driver, and I didn't make it, and I said I need to stay here in another way, and to stay here and speak to drivers who I also consider friends, mates, who we've grown together, taking different paths but always seeing each other at the track is really special. And I would like to start from that, from the passion. So what made you start in this world, driving? How did it start?
Well, I wouldn't say it started with passion. I mean, basically, already my father, when he found out that I was going to be a male, he already had everything planned. So he bought a kart for me, made it custom made, and basically when I was ready, like a year and a half, he bought a Yamaha motorbike, and he would take me to the roads at a ridiculous amount of speed. I can't specify it.
1 year and a half.
Yes, to get me used to the speed and the engine sound.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, everything was kind of planned.
But you know, that's a great thing, because we met a couple of kids who said they were afraid at the beginning.
Correct.
When they were 5 or 6.
So yeah, he wanted me to get used to the sound of the engine, the roar of the engine, and the speed. And so basically at 3.5, he decided he'd build this custom-made kart for me to reach. Basically, my pedal would be at the reach of the fuel tank.
Wow.
And so he put me on, and even the people that sold him the kart and made it, they told him, look, at first, just pull him with a rope or push him or something without turning on the engine, because he might get scared of the sound of the engine. And as soon as he said, okay, well, let's try whatever. And as soon as he started to do that, I just looked at him weird, and I said, Dad, but there's an engine for that, you know? Like,
You don't have to do it.
no, I was ready.
You were actually looking forward to driving.
Yes, it started. Basically, it's been a big deficiency for me, but I basically started karting at 3.5, and I started cycling at pretty much 7, 8 years old. So they were like, my granddad got one day at home, he was like, he said, there's no way, you know, you've been driving a go-kart for 4 years already, and you're not capable of riding a bike. So he said, now today you're just gonna learn that. So I've been struggling with pretty much everything else apart from driving since I was a kid.
That's curious, because you say being a big deficiency. Why do you say that?
Well, because I was extremely one sport focused, I would say. Like, since I was 3.5, everything was based on this. Of course, I had school, I had education, and I brought high school till the end and so on. But regarding sports, I love any kind of sport. I love any kind of competition. I appreciate pretty much watching anything sport-related, competition-related, for every different challenges that each sport has. and I've been lacking most of them. I did some things in the past, but really just as hobby and very briefly, and everything else was karting related. So I ended up missing in many sports that I love to do. And for example, now we do very often at my place, at my house, we play table tennis. I love it. Ping pong, or I loved it. And I started skiing when I was basically 20. I think I was 22. So it took me a long time.
We're
to
the opposite. I started when I was 3 years old skiing.
There you go.
And now she's starting karting.
Exactly. No.
It's more of a normal approach, I would
Yeah.
say. But yeah, so I'm trying to catch up on those kind of sports that I missed through my childhood. So I started to ski. I broke my ligament with it, of course.
Oh.
Yes, so it was interesting, but I did it, of course, in the winter time, so I had the time to recover in time for my season.
So, you know, we started this podcast to try to let people understand what this sport means, all that is behind the scenes. And we like to say that this sport, at least for me, is a metaphor for life. And you are literally an example of this, because you've grown with the sport, and also probably thanks to the sport. Now there are the Parolin guys.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. Hello. So I knew, but forgive me.
No, we're happy. How much do you agree with this? How do you feel? Because now you say, I'm catching up on all the rest. So probably you say, I also missed that part. But how much do you feel you've grown in this sport thanks to the sport?
Well, I think in general, you know, any path you're going to take in life, you're going to sacrifice some things for others.
Yeah.
And of course, if you want to get to this level in any competition, you need to go 100% on it. I was lucky enough that because I lived in Italy, I could still follow my education and school program perfectly. Because otherwise you would see most of the kids right now in karting and motorsport in general, they even struggle to make school. They do online schooling or some private sort of teaching just to have a bit of a basis. But I can imagine it's very hard. And yeah, you just commit so much to it, especially if you want to get to this kind of high level. And it just gets more and more and more, you know. It started as a game with my dad. And then as it started to get more and more serious, of course, all the challenges and all the duties become more and more. And so at some point you just have to go like, okay, this is what I focus on in my life, and let's see how this thing develops. So it's normal that you need to sacrifice a lot of everything else, from social relationships to any kind of other activity.
That was actually one of the things I thought about, because I thought, I see all these kids here, always here, and I thought, how difficult was it to create real friendships? Because obviously for me, I used to go to school every day, saw the same people, made friends. How was it for you?
You're so dedicated to it. I mean, you can get some friends on track, which in a sense can be friend, but in another they're your competitors. So it's not always that easy. But I had a few friends into motorsport that I carried on in my life, just like Robert Schwarzman, the F2 driver, Ferrari driver right now in ZT. So
I remember you both
yes.
of you. You were like my reference points when I started. You, Robert, and Mattia Drudi.
Yes,
they were like the magical three for me when I started racing. They were always
True.
top three. And yeah.
So I carried on some of those friendships, but of course at home I still went to school, but it was way more sacrificed. Also, you know, you live such different lives. I come also from a very small town. So
Spilimbergo, right?
Spilimbergo, correct. It's 10,000 people, not really much, but you live completely different lives. So
you don't have a lot of
it's difficult
things
to
in common.
connect. Yes. So yes.
And when did you were speaking about how it started with as a hobby, as fun with your father, and I remember also your first races with at least the first times I saw you, your father was still your mechanic, if I remember correctly. When did it change a bit? You said you say that you started dedicating 100%, you commit to arrive to a certain level. When did you make that click?
I think, you know, it starts step by step. Also, probably compared to nowadays kid, my process has been slower. First of all, because we did not expect it to get this serious and to get this kind of results. And so it really started as a game until probably at least I was 13, 14. And then we started to do international races, and we started to compete at the highest level. I think in 2013 I finished 8th in the World Championship with my father as a mechanic.
Wow.
And that was, afterwards, when I think about it, it was a great achievement. And so from that point, we realized, okay, this is getting serious. We need to dedicate more and more of it. Until before then, I think we still took it as something to do together. And then when I was basically 14, 15, that's when I started to have mechanics and being into professional teams. Because before then, I was always with my dad. We had sometimes people helping us, and they gave us a lot of help through the years, but it was mostly me and my dad until at least I turned 14, 15.
And did that change a lot the way you lived it? Because we always speak about how karting can be really something, for example, both of us actually come from a championship that is born with that concept of making karting a bit more easy, accessible, easy karts. So you see more this kind of stuff, while nowadays in international racing, it's something really probably unthinkable to see like a child with his father competing. So I want to ask you a bit, how did it change when you started to live it more on the professional side? Also inside you, did you start enjoying it more or less? Did something change inside?
Maybe the pressure.
It's I would say it's different. It's not, I would say in a sense, I had a lot of pressure also from my father because he was very demanding with me. Whereas, when I started to be on my own, start traveling alone with the teams and so on, it started, like, the pressure started to come, sure, also from the side of the team, but mostly inner. So I started to demand from myself. You start to be more responsible of yourself and of your results. Whereas when you had your father there, it's a thing more between you two, and it's a different thing, I wouldn't say the pressure has changed, and, I always enjoyed doing what I'm doing, so I never felt like it got heavier. Sure, the duties became a lot more, and we started to spend, 200, 250 days a year on track or traveling. And
I remember when he first told me that he had spent like 250 days in a year on track.
Yeah. So it just started to be more and more and more. But as the results got better, you push yourself more and you keep going. So you have this, thing going and rolling, and you don't even realize it, like even now I do, between my races and the races of my drivers, I do pretty much 35 races in a year, probably more. We've been adding some, so could have been more, but yeah, you don't even realize it, as things keep going and grow, you just roll with it.
This is something really linked to our podcast, but how you grow inside the sport. So maybe you say kids grow with the school, obviously, but then they come here and it's a bit of a different dimension. I always felt like when I went to the racetracks, I entered my favorite world, I called it. But obviously I didn't live it so much, maybe so frequently. It was more of a thing during the weekends. How much do you feel that this is true? Whereas maybe for you it's more kind of the normality, which is a strange normality if you speak with other people.
Yeah, in the end we see each other so much that we kind of feel like this is the normal.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely a completely different life than what most kids are used, and they mature a lot quicker because of this. But I think in every sport you kind of get a little bit of this, with the effort and the dedication and that you put in and the results that you get out of it. I think for sure you mature a lot in any kind of sport, but this in particular, you got so many responsibilities, not only because you're traveling around the world, but also because your results make a lot also in terms of the work of the people around you. You're responsible also for their work, because in the end the teams, especially when you get to the professional level, are putting money on you and are expecting from you a certain kind of behavior, a certain kind of results, and everything depends on actually your results. So you need to put yourself that you have that responsibility and pressure to add to yourself, and I think that makes kids mature a lot, you know. Then it has to be a balance. I think it cannot be everything about this. I think I kind of feel sorry for those that don't really manage to get a proper education, because I think it's important to be able to experience both things, also to realize how special this sport is.
Yeah.
You touched a lot of important points, but before I forget, when I was talking to Nicole about you, because obviously she didn't know a lot about you as I did, I said, Lorenzo, I think, is quite also an atypical driver, because I see you reading books at the track. I love the way you write, also on the use you make of social media, that I think you try to be an example for also the little ones coming up, and I appreciate this, because not a lot of drivers do it, and they underestimate, I think, the responsibility they have, not only towards the team, as you were saying, but also towards our world. So I really appreciate this. And also this, when I was introducing this to Nicole, I was also talking about how you speak about this sport. So this is also nice what you say about realizing how special it is. And also you touched another point about the team game. So I give the word to Nicole, because I know she has a question in this.
No, because we always ask a question to our guests, which is, do you think this sport is mainly an individual sport or a team sport?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think as a driver, to be really a top driver, you need to realize that it's a part of both, in the sense that your results will depend also on the people around you. And so you can't be selfish, you can't not care about everything that it's around you, because, you know, yes, your performance as a driver is what you're doing on track, but it's not dependent only on that. You know, there's many more factors that you need to account for to get the best out of the performance. So those that are able to cooperate in the most efficient way with the team are the ones that can get the most out of it. On the other side, you know, you need to also be able to separate the two things, and when you get on track, just know that it's you against the others, and not putting together all the other things that you can be thinking of, about the material that the other has, the preparation. You know, in the end, it's just you versus the others. And I still think, at least in karting, the driver can still make a lot of the difference, you know, compared to what you can find in formulas, where the results are mostly affected by the performance of the vehicle that you're driving. And sure, there you can have your part in the development or so on, but in karting, that I think it's still like 70-80% the driver and less the equipment.
Wow, that's a lot.
Obviously, if you watch television and you think, well, motorsports, Formula One, then people struggle to imagine how the human part in karting is so important still. But when you were talking about this balance between individual sport and team sport, now I remember, because obviously in these episodes we're not telling the whole biography of Lorenzo Travisanutto. We hope to have you as a guest in many other occasions to do that, but we pick some anecdotes, and I hope this will, I mean, that you will be fine with this, because I think about 2018, I guess, when you sacrificed a victory in a race, a European race, to let by Hannes Janker, because he was fighting for the European title. And so I think wow, what does that mean for a driver? And how did that consideration that you were now telling about the team game and the individual sport kick in?
You know, in the end, sure, as a driver and as a sportman and competitive I'm competitive in anything I do. You know, you always wanna succeed and so on. But I think there's also more than that. You know, trying to go beyond, and I also feel like, because people in the end look up to you, especially young kids, and I feel like there is a certain ethics in what we do, and I think also the way to achieve certain results. And in the end, there, basically with the team, we realized that, because in the race before, I've been disqualified after I won, And
Yeah.
so I was out of the games for the championship. And so as a professional driver in the team, I was asked to swap the position in case something like that would have happened on track, because Hannes was actually, yes, competing for the European Championship, which he ended up winning anyways, regardless of the position swap. So I was happy with that in the end he deserved it regardless. But yeah, I think in the end there's more than the individual achievements, which in the end ended up, I think, if you work rightfully and in a good way, you'll still end up achieving the things that you deserve.
This is a really nice lesson I think you just gave us, and it's also nice because soon after that the greatest satisfaction probably actually came for you with the World Championship. How was that feeling for you after already, it was 2018, you started racing, I think 2007, the first races, also, well, driving before, but the first races, after 11 years already so dedicated, after all you had lived, also looking back with your father, how
Also, I think after the European Championship, it must have
Yeah.
been like really frustrating, really
on a side, yeah,
difficult.
I guess.
It was at an individual level. Yeah, I would say it wasn't an easy choice. You always want to win, and you had the victory in your hands, so it was hard giving it up. But as a part of a team, I thought it was the right choice. And in the end, even at the World Championship, we ended up fighting for the victory with Hannes. So
I remember that
yeah,
race.
exactly the guy that I left the position with. So in a kind of sense, it's been actually a very close fights in 2 occasions, but to be fair, he's been also there nice with me and respectful, and I like to think that in the end we respected each other and things went that way also because I've been nice to him and respectful with him in the European Championship, and I could say that he could have made my life more difficult in that race, and vice versa, but we didn't. We've been very fair with each other, and so I like to think it's been also part of what happened before.
And what relationship do you have with victory, and what relationship do you have with defeat? As we've touched both points, also in the same year. Well, I mean, defeat is a big word in this case, but anyway, I was curious because
I call them defeats. It's fine with it. We, of course, there's a wishful thinking of taking defeats not as defeats but as lessons, which I agree with. Of course, in your head you want to try to have this growth mindset of always, taking the positives from the positives and trying to take the positives also from the negatives. But yeah, it's fair to call defeats for what they are.
Yeah.
But I always try to appreciate the moments of victory, but until a certain extent. I've never been fully. I mean, it was probably hard on myself, but I always felt like when I won, I just did my job, and when I would lose, then I would try to figure out where I could have done better.
Sorry to interrupt you, but is that for how you were grown? The fact that you took victories as I did my job? Is it? Do you think, or it's your mentality for how maybe something you've developed, but it's not so much linked to maybe going back to your dad? Because this is curious, because we've asked this question already to some guests and nobody answered like that. So it's
That's
really
true.
curious for us.
Well, it's just, especially when you start to be part of those big things, and I realized it through the years, because as much as we did incredible things with my dad, it was hard to get race wins, and we did sometimes, but it was definitely really, really hard to be competitive over championships, so especially at the highest level. And so I realized how lucky I was to get those opportunities to fight for the win. As much as I say that karting is a big part of the driver, I think when you get to really the highest level and all the drivers are so good at the front, then you need also the part of the material to get that edge, because they're really, really all good drivers. So it's really hard to make a difference on an individual level. So you need everything else. And I think especially when I had the opportunities to win, and I think I've been very fortunate to always deliver when I had the opportunities to win, which is something that I'm very happy with myself. But I always felt like it was my duty. I always took it like these people worked so hard for me to get the opportunity to win, and so it's my job as a driver to win. I never felt like nothing more. Then sure, you can lose. I've been really, really fortunate in my life that in every world championship that I've been on the podium, I always won. So I don't feel like, luckily I never felt like,
That's
finishing
a nice
second.
statistic.
Yes. I don't know, like for sure, even when you finish second or third at a world championship, it's still a great achievement because you're second or third of hundreds drivers. But I always felt like I had to deliver when I was given those opportunities.
They say that winning is difficult, but to win again is even more difficult. And you did so a lot, because after 2018 a lot of other successful achievements came, and if I need to recall one that impressed me, I must say, and I was lucky enough to be there at the track because 2018 and 19 I was watching home, but Sweden, Kristianstad 2021, your first season in KZ, that I remember that you were telling me the earlier years that you weren't so attracted by KZ. Am I wrong? Or
driving wise, no.
Okay.
Still not.
Still not. And then Lorenzo makes his debut in KZ. He's really quick.
I struggled, but
you struggled, but already halfway through the year you were competitive because you took the podium in Asia, I remember, at the European Championship. And then we go to Sweden, and wow, you're there, top of the field. And I remember before the final that you wrote this sentence on Instagram with the photo of the kart on the grid. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Because he had won his first championship there at Kristianstad, and then he went out and won in KZ. And I was the part that I was in love with that sentence, and I was impressed by the pressure, because how can you do that before the race and then go out?
I think I literally posted it while I was going out to the grid. So.
Yes, but I said, this is crazy. Like living, obviously I never reached Lorenzo's levels, but racing, I said, whoa, it takes courage to write something like that before the race. You were starting P1, so I mean, how did that self-confidence, I guess, also
I think it starts from the preparation. I mean, I think when I started to take things seriously, and at times I still wouldn't get the results that I wanted to, I would feel very frustrated after the races, and I started to think why that would be the case, and then I felt like there were many things through the week that I could have done better. Very ridiculously small things, but
for example,
getting a little better sleep, or could have eaten a little bit better that night. I had that dessert or something. Really ridiculously small
very
things.
Critical.
Yes, and so I felt like in order to feel less pressure with myself, in the sense that I knew that I was doing 100% everything that I possibly could to be as prepared as I possibly could for a race, I just started to look at every single detail. Basically, from, I think, end of 2015 until probably end of 2018, so over 3 years, I didn't touch any desserts for basically over 3 years. Not because it makes any difference on track.
That's a lot of willpower.
A lot.
Just,
I would never do that.
I was so dedicated, and I wanted to be as perfect as I could possibly get, to also not feel the pressures. Like I would go on track knowing that I was as prepared as I could possibly get, and knowing that I was doing everything I possibly could, and that took away a lot of pressure. And especially in those years, from 2018 to 2021, as you said, in the World Championship, I was so prepared from a mental to physical to material-wise level with the preparation with the team, that I always felt so confident that we were going to get the results, that I was also able to post those kind of things just because I felt like, yes, I'm 100% ready in everything I possibly can, and we're going to deliver. So I always had that inner strength that in those moments I would not feel the pressure, because I would know that I tried everything I possibly could in every little detail to be ready at the track. So I knew that I couldn't possibly do anything better.
Wow.
I see you're impressed.
Yeah, I'm really impressed, because to never have the doubt and being so confident and so sure. It's not something that comes normal. It's, at least in my opinion, it takes a lot of growth, a lot of
maturity also.
Exactly.
But Lorenzo spoke about the mental preparation. So I ask you, how important is the mental side of racing? Maybe even more. I know you are also very keen on physical training, but probably like the balance there. How much do you feel that the mental training and the mental aspect is fundamental?
For sure, it's a huge part. You know, in the end, we're all drivers. We're all very well trained. I think, in the end, especially now, also at the physical level, we're all very well trained and prepared. So where you can really make a difference, I think it's on a mental state, and that's why I really looked at every little detail, because I felt like I would put a lot of pressure on myself to deliver. And so looking at every little detail would kind of make me feel good with myself that I prepared in the best way possible. So, and, you know, those are, in the end, are meaningless details, you know, not having any desserts or sleeping 9 hours per night every night at the same time, you know, or those kind of things. You know, I was looking into every possible, you know, having small snacks through the day to always be perfect with the digestion. Like, I looked at everything. I've been reading books and so on to try, you know, to extract everything possible out of the results. And that put me in, I think, in a mental state where I was extremely committed because of all the sacrifices that I was doing, and as well very confident with my preparation.
How you said that you were doing this also to have less pressure, actually, because you were fine with yourself. You said, I did the best, but didn't this become also heavy on you? I mean, also through the years because another question I had for you, looking at, you're very young because we're all the same age, 1999.
Cool.
Yeah, but like, I mean, it's a lot of years you race at high levels and with the excellent results. And so I wanted to ask, how do you manage to keep up not only the commitment, but also the motivation? Because you need to be extremely motivated to do such a thing. And so this is why I ask you, weren't there times where you said, okay, this is maybe too much, I would like to do it in another way? Have you ever had
let's think about it. He was at an age where sometimes you want to go out with friends, you want to eat an ice cream with friends, you know, it's...
How did you do that?
I think it was just a matter of choices, you know, what you need to, as I said, like, I think in life you need to pick what you're gonna regret. And I may regret not being out with friends or partying or that so much, but I think I had to choose and pick what I regretted most, and I was so all in this, and I felt like this was the most important project and thing that I had, that I decided, okay, I'll just go 100% into this. So it was never even a thing about motivation. I just decided that I did not want to feel frustrated and regret when things would go bad, because of course, you know, as much as I had success for the years, we had also times and moments where we struggled.
Yeah.
But I would still feel much better with myself because I felt like everything that I could possibly look for, we did it in the right way. So I just picked and I went like, let's go all in into this.
This is, I mean, very meaningful to me because I've tried, I feel in a different way I dedicated my life until now to this sport, to this passion. And I always say also to Nicole, I'm in love with this, and this is part of me. So I guess that you love this too, and you said it before. But do you feel in some way that this great love has also betrayed you sometimes? Do you feel that maybe you weren't treated as you deserved on some occasions? And first I wait for your answer, and then I also explain why I'm saying this.
Well, I would say, do I feel like I could have achieved more through my racing career, not in karting? If we would get to that point, sure. But on the other side, I'm still looking from where I started as a game just with my dad. I'm still extremely grateful for all that I've been able to achieve, because it's still more than I could have ever dreamed of. So yes, in the end, in some sense, it's a cruel sport, and I think not just me, but many other drivers would have deserved more than they actually achieved, or at least having the opportunities. But I'm still extremely happy with things are going.
And now I thank you for your answer, and I say that I asked because I remember that after the victory in Sweden in 2021, you wrote on Instagram to all those people who were asking why a driver who had won 4 FIA titles hadn't had the opportunity of going into car racing. You said ask FIA directly. And so I was curious to know how also you coped with this, because I personally admire people who, because you see a lot of drivers, or at least I can think of a few who maybe, okay, you saw them being successful, and then you saw them going maybe to car racing, and then when they realized they couldn't get to the pinnacle, okay, stop. And I say, but wait, if you're passionate, you can still find a way, okay? Because there's not only Formula One, and the passion can bring you in many roads.
You're an example, but
you are more an example, actually. But yeah, so that was is for me something important also for people to know that there are a lot of roads. And actually now you are also following kids, because we didn't speak about this. We spoke a lot about driving, but now you're a driver coach. You follow them closely. How is that also passing your experience on to those kids?
Yeah, regarding the post and so on, I felt like the concept right now and the way motorsport is structured still does not give much incentive to bring talent forward, rather than good drivers, but also with the economical base to go forward. I think it's still not structured in a way that would allow really talents to go forward in the right way, but in an easy way. But still, yes, I mean, you can get so much out of this sport in many different ways. There's a ridiculous amount of people that work and live through this, and it can get you a lot of satisfaction as well. Myself, I've been thinking, okay, what's next? After I'm still driving, and I'm 24, but I thought, okay, at some point there's gonna be something after this, and so I started already when I was really 100% driving in 2018-19. I started to follow some drivers on the side, and I started to get a lot of satisfaction out of that as well. So it's just something that I like bringing forward, and it just gives me so many more experiences and responsibility that I love, because as a driver, driving makes you feel young. I still do, and when I do it I just feel like still a child, and it's a fantastic feeling. But you need to think, okay, I think myself, I have more inside of me than just driving a go-kart, and I can give a lot as well to young drivers that I think are deserving. And so it's something great for me to being able to take all the knowledge that I learned through years and years that, it took me a while, because I was basically on my own. My father would just try to hold the car together, hopefully. Not always, but and that was pretty much it. And the rest, and the rest I had to learn myself. And so I just tried to share my overall knowledge, not only on the driving side, but everything that is around it, to drivers that I hope will get a better chance than I did.
This is impressive also, because I feel you are grateful in some way also to this sport, because you say, I probably could have done more if I had been given the opportunity, but you also recognize how much this sport can give and gave you, and I appreciate what you do. I think you're also a perfect example of discipline in this sport, so I thank you for sharing all of this with us.
Thanks.
And with the next generation.
And with the next generation. And I know we don't have a lot of time.
It's getting pretty dark, but
it's getting dark outside here. But you talked about maturity, about growing with the sport, and we always say, like Nicole grew with skiing. she grew with this sport. And I say, okay, I'm biased, but I think that no sport like ours can make you grow like this with those values. So how much do you agree with this? Because Nicole isn't so, I mean...
No, I mean, I agree that every sport has its own bubble in which it makes you grow and makes you mature, but I think every sport does it, not just motorsport.
No, obviously, I'm not saying not only motorsport, but look at Lorenzo. He's 24, or it's already a lot of years he's passing on his knowledge, his discipline to the younger drivers, and also this fact of traveling around the world, of learning different languages, different cultures. Obviously, then it also depends on the person, because not everyone in the paddock is like Lorenzo Anzi. I mean,
I don't know if it's good or bad, but
it's a compliment. Obviously, I mean, as I said, I admire also how you've been keen on keeping up the knowledge and the education. But yeah, how much do you agree with the fact that this sport is unique in this?
You have, let's say that you have a lot of responsibility, not only towards the team, but also, I would say also towards your parents, because regardless, or sponsors, hopefully sponsors, but anyways, yeah, you have so much involved also economically that I think as a driver you need to acknowledge it and know that you have to deliver in some sense and expect from you. So if you're able to cope with that pressure, and I know it's hard, and I know that it's hard on many kids, but I think to be a champion you need to be able to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I want to try to look after for sure. It's something that I'll always be involved in sport regardless, even when I'll finish with my career into this stuff. And I would love to see and experience more different sports, but I do not have an opinion. I think this is amazing, but it has good parts, wonderful parts, and also a cruel side, we'll say.
The passion is what drives you then in staying and in going on. And we are arriving to our last questions. And before leaving the last one to Nikki, I have the second to last one. I know I speak a lot, but
I'll try to be probably.
Yeah, because I remember I interviewed you after that first World Championship victory. I was writing for a blog at that time, and I asked you the dream. What was your dream? And you said, again, showing a lot of maturity, I think that all drivers in karting would like to reach the pinnacle of motorsport. So speaking about F1, but you also need to be realistic about how that world was already
hardly accessible.
Yeah, hardly accessible. Let's say, yeah, very hardly. So I want to. It's two questions in one. Do you feel you have actually realized your dream? And second question, now today, what is your dream?
Well, did I realize my dream? I would say so. Like, I can be satisfied with what I achieved, with the opportunities that I was given. So I have no regrets with what I did in my life and what I've been able to achieve, which is great to live with yourself with this realization. And I would say probably my dream at the moment would probably be something like, well, I'm following wonderful kids. I'm lucky to follow really talented drivers in karting and now also in formulas. So probably I would say now my challenge is to try to get at least as close as possible to Formula One, not as a driver, but as a coach and a mentor for these people. It's not an easy achievement also for them, but it's something that I try to strive for, and it pushes me always to learn and get better.
Wow, we will certainly support
Be on
you.
the lookout.
Yeah, and I thank you. But last question.
Our last question is basically, we chose the name The Pass because we wanted to get the sport closer to our daily life, and so we thought, what's something you do on track but also in life? Passing something. On track, you obviously overtake someone, or you overtake yourself. Maybe you had a very difficult moment and you overtake your difficulty. but also in life you overcome a fear, you overcome
A difficult
moment.
Yeah.
So we want to ask you, what's the pass in life? If there's one thing that comes to your mind.
Or on track. You probably
Yeah,
did a
also
lot
on
of
track.
overtakes, but if you think, what is the pass?
Something
That-
you're really proud of.
I would say like something that I'm really proud of. It's a good question, but I try to put my, let's say, the thing that I always try to do in life, and that the track has taught me, and that I try to bring also in life, is really to be dedicated and give 100% in everything you do, and to put your heart in it. I try to be as much as possible a kind person towards the other, and bring positivity, and it helped me in the sport to create good environment around me to succeed, and I try to carry that through life. In the end, I think sport in general is a metaphor for life, in the sense of, you know, putting the effort and struggling and to hopefully one day, because the success is never guaranteed, but to hopefully one day succeed. So I translated the sport into my personal life and everyday life, and it just, I think it's a wonderful way to learn for young kids, regardless of, you know, if this is gonna be your career and what you're gonna end up doing in life. But I think it's a wonderful school.
Thank you.
This has been a wonderful track talk for us, and actually I must say the last thing, that when we raced together, I always had this feeling you were a very hard driver, and also your style of being very like focused with your head. It's a thing you can't explain. You need to watch Lorenzo to understand. He still has it today. And I remember, like if it was yesterday, the first and probably only occasion I started in front of him. Actually, I was P11 and he was P13 in Parma in 2009. And I was a bit, oh my God, Lorenzo Travisanutto is starting behind me. And I remember the start, I wasn't as experienced, and he literally pushed me to go immediately to the front, and it worked well. So I had this feeling, and actually he was so fair also to me, that I was not a rookie because I had done something the year before. And then growing up, the same thing. You were always very tough on track, but fair, and a really nice person. So I thank you once again for being here with us. We hope we will pass by again. So thank you on my side. I hope to have you here again. And I also want to thank Franciacorta Karting Track for welcoming us here on the occasion of the FIA Karting World Championship, and also our GMMC, James Geidel, for all the support. We cannot not thank Loredana, who is helping us.
Thank you, Loredana, yes.
Yeah, she's been a lifesaver for us in these
conditions.
But we're a traveling podcast, so people know that
it's not always the same, the best.
Exactly. But yeah, I'll stop talking finally, and I say thank you again, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you. You told wonderful words, and it's also what I would like to leave, you know, except from all the achievements, also to try to be hard but a kind person, and I appreciate those words.
And I appreciate it too. And thank you to my partner Nikki. And so
it was wonderful. Thanks.
Thanks to you. The Past Track Talks. See you soon to the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Because in some way, the past is also about you.